And each one is a different story about a different event, but they have all one thing in common. They really ask the reader a question, such as, for example, in one of my stories, the question is, what happens to your faith when an important relic is destroyed? Another of my stories asks the question, was the president's press secretary really to murder a target after all? Another one says, what role does nepotism play in getting a job promotion? Yet another story is, if faced with nuclear destruction and you had the power to freeze everything in the world, would you do it? Another story is, if you went back in time, would you be able to prevent Lincoln's assassination? Those are just some of the examples of the kinds of topics that are covered in this book, and as I say, they are not only enjoyable in terms of reading entertainment, but I think they also give us some insight into ourselves and
Tom,
into the world.
do you have any particular favorites you'd like to share with me from stories to enjoy?
Actually, they're all good stories, but there's four in particular that I want to talk about because they have different things, different messages to say. The first one I'd like to talk about is Real Characters. Real Characters was adapted from a play I wrote, a two-act comedy, and I thought it really fit well as a short story. The Real Characters story was actually a story about a writer named Troy, who's told by his agent about the need to make the characters in Troy's novel come alive. So he's hoping that he can do something to do this, and his friend Mike, in the meantime, gives Troy and his fiancée an ancient lamp. So skeptical Troy rubs the lamp, and a genie appears and grants him 3 wishes. Troy's first wish is that the characters in his novel come alive.
Well, description. What's the next one that you'd like to share with us?
Well, the next story is called Breakfast Over Easy, and the way this story came about is I wondered what would happen if you met with the same person every day at breakfast for weeks at a time, and all of a sudden he did not appear. Well, that's what my story is about. In this story, I have been meeting a fellow named Larry every Monday for breakfast. On one Monday, Larry does not show up, and I am baffled because Larry and I have been meeting regularly for the past 50 weeks. An attractive girl instead shows up, and what she reveals to me about Larry and herself may change the way that I look at myself in the future. How do I value friendship versus...
What's the third one?
Well, the third one is called When Kansas Women Were Not Free, and actually it's an offshoot from my 2 books, All Parts Together and Sissy, because it involves the same character, Jessica Radford. In this particular story, Jessica just gets off the train in Lawrence in 1867. She's on her way to a suffrage movement, and she meets another suffragist there named Clarina Nichols, and they plan to attend a suffrage meeting the next day where Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton are both going to be there. Now, events come to a clash when Jessica meets with the hotel proprietor because she brings in a black person who is denied having a job in Lawrence, and yet she feels pity for him, and just begins to wonder who is really free.